Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, SAP with IK. Hope you're all doing good. Today's topic will be on the digital signatures, and we'll discuss on how to enable the functionality of a digital signatures and what is basically a digital signature in SAP and in what functions can we actually use this functionality. So let's get started. So the digital signature is a concept where the system basically allows you to sign a particular document that is technically stored in SAP, and which makes you to authorize that particular document by a corresponding user based on the roles and the authorizations he has been provided with. So to say the same thing in a layman language, so let's say you are going to provide a document, let it be a legal document or a non-legal document. So we typically do our signature, right, on the hard copy of that document. So which means that we are basically authorizing the data that has been incorporated in the document, and also we are approving, saying that this particular document has been reviewed by me, and now I am going to approve this or authorize this particular document. So the same way in SAP, there are few functionalities or few scenarios where the document should also be authorized by the person who is designated to that particular role. And for that reason, SAP has provided the functionality of the digital signatures. So let's get into SAP and see what settings do we need basically to enable the digital signatures, and what configurations should we basically perform. Okay, so here I'm in SAP, and this is the material that I'm going to choose today. And I would like to pick a scenario from the quality management module or the QM module, right? So in the QM view of the material master, we do have a field for the QM material authorization. So by enabling a key in this QM material authorization, the material will be enabled with the digital signature process. So now let's try to understand what is this key and what are the prerequisites to basically configure the QM material authorization key. So for that, we'll have to go to SPRO. So now in the SPRO path, since we are talking about the quality management, we will have to go to the path of quality management. Under the quality management IMG path, we also have the option or the node for the environment. So if we open the environment, we will see a subnode for the central functions. And if we open this, we do have these options for the signature strategy and also the authorization management. So first, let's look at the signature strategy. So we have three categories here. One is to define the authorization groups, and the second one to define individual signatures, and then the signature strategy. So for the first one, so here this is an authorization group that will be created by the functional guy and will be provided to the basis person. So then while the basis guy is creating a role based on the user, he is going to provide this particular authorization group according to his particular role. So let's say we have two users in this particular scenario. So one user, let's say the operator or the inspector, he has to perform the result recording in the quality inspection lot. And the second user, who is in the role of a QM manager, so he will validate the result recording and then perform the usage decision. So now here the usage decision access should not be provided to the quality inspector, but the QM manager can have both access to perform the result recording and also to perform the usage decision. So this is basically an alphanumeric combination of the code. So we don't have any specific configuration behind this particular group. Okay, so here I have created result recording and then usage decision. these two are the authorization groups I have created. So once it is done, we'll go to the definition of individual signatures. So if we open here, and now here we are going to provide the combination of the individual signature along with the authorization groups. So here we are again going to create an alphanumeric combination of the individual signature. So here for the inspector, I have created the individual signature as QM underscore INSP. And for the manager, I have created QM underscore MGR. And now since the inspector should only perform the result recording, I have assigned this authorization group result recording to this particular individual signature. Now once these settings are completed, once we assign the individual signature to the authorization group digital signature, then we are going to come back. I mean, you have to save it, and that creates a transport. And then we are going to create the strategies for the signatures. So if I go into this, so the strategies, the signature strategies we have created here are the QM underscore inspection and QM underscore MGR, which is for the manager. So for the QM underscore inspection, let's take a look what settings are basically enabled here. So here in this strategy for the quality inspector, the signature method has been assigned by choosing the SAP user ID and password. But in case you have a third-party system connected with SAP, so you also can have that connected to SAP, and then you're going to use the other options to choose the signature from an external security product. So one is without verification and the second one is with verification. And then the next fields we have here is the comment box. So while performing a signature, should this particular user be able to make any comments or not? So if you would like to allow the comments field, then you're going to choose the option as possible. But if not, then you're going to make it as disallowed. But if you say that this is an obligatory field, whenever you are going to perform a signature, then you have to mark it as a required one. So for now, I made it as just possible. And similarly for the remarks. So should the remarks be allowed? Yes or no, or obligatory? And then you have the display of document. So here it is also again marked as allowed or possible. And now for this signature strategy, QM underscore in INSP, which is for the quality inspector, we are going to assign the individual signatures. So the individual signatures here I have assigned is QM underscore INSP, right? So that is the individual signature. And for that, we have the authorization group as result.rec. So this is the authorization group that we have assigned, right, for the inspector. And then similarly for the QM manager, here again, go to individual signatures. So for the manager, we have assigned the authorization group as usage decision, usg.decs. Okay. And but if you like to have a particular kind of a hierarchy where the signatures should be performed, then you can assign the predecessors as well. So in order to activate this particular signature strategy or the individual signature, you can assign a predecessor for this combination. Okay, but for now, if you are just going to proceed with an individual signature like a single signature, then this is not required. So now I'm going back. So here we have created the authorization groups, the individual signatures, and then the signature strategies. Next, we have the authorization management. So here, the user authorizations, this is something the basis team will be looking after from the PFCG roles. And then we have the define authorization groups and digital signature. So if we go into the details of it, in the second step, so here we are going to create this QM material authorization group. It is QM dot AG, the authorization group. So here we are going into the details of it. So the short text, you can enter it up to a certain length, and then the approval of inspection lot. So whenever an inspection lot is created, do we need any approval for that particular material or not? So here we can choose what is required, but for now I have used it as approval not required. And then coming to the result recording process, we do have the digital signature for the result recording. So here I have chosen the option as the digital signature is required by using the new digital signature process. So that is possible by selecting this option too. And then the signature strategy. So the signature strategy, we do have few options. One is the asynchronous signature process, and then we have an asynchronous signature process with modifiable signatory, and then synchronous signature process. So if we are going to have a kind of a sequence of signatures to be performed in order to release that particular lot, then we are going to use this synchronous signature process. So let's say we have three users, user 1, 2 and 3. So once the user 1 has signed the document, then it goes to the second user, and based on his signature it goes to the third user. That is where the signature process will be stopped basically. So that is how it works in the synchronous signature process. But in case of an asynchronous, we will not have such functionality. And then coming to the signature strategy for the result recording. So the signature strategy that we have created earlier is QM underscore INSP, right? So that has been assigned to the result recording. Why? Because the signature strategy for the quality inspector should be assigned over here. And similarly, this next step is to perform the usage decision. So for the usage decision, we are similarly using the same options for the result recording into the UD, right? But here the signature strategy for the UD, we are going to assign it as QM underscore MGR for the quality manager. So once this setup is completed, we then are going to save this. So the same whatever options that we have gone through so far, so those options are basically displayed in this particular screen itself. And then we have the signature method. So the signature methods are basically like, the inspection log result recording, the usage decision, and also the PI sheet for the work step. And also in the PI sheet, again, if you like to accept an invalid value, then you have to sign by creating a particular deviation. And then you have the document management status changes. So according to the SAP standard, we do have these predefined signature objects where the digital signature is possible. Right, so here we have these two options for the QM, and then these two for PPPI, and then the last one for the document management or the DMS. So here under these options, let's say we pick these two options for the QM. So what should be the signature method that is mentioned over here? So should it be a signature in the system itself based on the SAP user ID or password, or through some third-party security product with and without verification? So based on our requirement or the scenario, we can basically choose these options. So that is it. And apart from this, we don't need any other configurations or settings to be done in order to enable the digital signature. And now coming to the assignment of authorization objects or the authorization groups. So yeah, so here this is something that we are going to provide it to the basis team to basically assign it to the corresponding role of the user, basically with the authorization group, and then assign these authorization groups by creating an individual signature. And then we are going to assign the individual signature into the signature strategy. So having said that, since the configuration is completed, let's go back to the material master. Yeah, so here in the QM view, in the QM material authorization field, and this is where we are going to assign the QM material authorization group, qm.ag. So whatever materials are basically using or applied with this QM material authorization group, so the inspection lots pertaining to that material will go through the digital signature process. So let's try to create one inspection lot and see how this basically works. So I'm going to create the inspection lot manually for now. Okay, so now the lot can be saved. So the lot number is 7013. So let's perform the result recording first. So I'm going to the transaction QE01 to perform result recording. So this is the lot. Okay, so these are the characteristics values for this particular material. So we are going to provide the results, accept for the valuation. So this is where the digital signature, it basically pops up. So the user who is basically perform this transaction has to enter his password that will be used to log into this SAP system, right? So you cannot change the user ID here. And the authorization group for the digital signature, as you can see, it is rslt.rec, right? The result recording that we created earlier. So with that reference, actually it has been copied to the inspection lot. And now I'm going to provide the password. And here you have the options, like we did discuss on these options, right? To create a comment for a digital signature and also to display a particular document, right? So those options are made available here. So if you'd like to make a comment, let's say demo signature, and then I'm going to enter the password. That's it. So now, since you are evaluating these characteristics, you are going to perform the signature those many times. Okay, so now the signature process has been completed, and here you can find a different field or a different column that basically talks about the digital signature, saying that the digital signature has been completed with this particular green checkbox, right? So the next step is to go to the usage decision. So we'll go to Q11 and enter the inspection lot. Now we are going to evaluate the characteristics. So let's assume that this transaction is performed by the quality manager. So I'm going to assign it. Okay, we're going to assign a batch. Okay. Okay, this is good. So we're going to mark it as accepted. Right. So now we are going to save this. So upon save, we again can see the authorization group for the digital signature coming out as usg.decs, right? So this is the authorization group that we have created for the usage decision. Okay, enough. We are going to sign it again, and I would like to place a comment here. Let's say it as signature for usage decision, and save it. So now the UD has been completed. Now you might be having a question in the mind. So where do we basically see this particular log? For each and every transaction that we see in SAP, there will be a place where these logs are stored. So for the digital signatures, you can use the transaction DSAL, right? So in the DSAL transaction, you can look at the logs based on the user, or maybe on a timely manner on a specific period. So now I'm going to use it based on the period and execute. So this is where we see the logs. And if you go into the details of this, the result recording for this lot 7013 has been performed on this particular operation, and also the usage decision has been made. And you also can see the signature method that has been used. I mean, it basically comes from the configuration, and who is the user who made this particular signature, and what is the first name, last name, and what is the signature date, and also the time. So, the complete timestamp is available in this transaction. And also the authorization groups, the authorization group for the digital signatures that are assigned to these transactions. So the first two are basically result recording. The result recording. So we have the authorization group rslt.rec, and the last one is the usage decision. And if it is an end of the signature strategy, then it would be marked as X. So if we have like multiple layers of or multiple levels of signatory process where it follows from one user to the second user and then the other user, only then the signature process ends, right? So that is where we see this X mark being enabled. So if there is another signature process that should be followed in order to complete the entire process, then we will not have the value X here in the end of signature strategy. So the entire process of performing the result recording by one user and the usage decision by a different user, it is basically controlled by these authorization groups for the result recording and the usage decision. So if the manager should have access to both result recording and UD, he should be assigned with these two authorization groups. And whereas the quality inspector or the operator will only have one authorization group, right? And also accordingly the transactions will be limited to his role. This is one example of the quality management or the inspection process. And if you'd like to enable the similar functionality in the PI sheets, then we can go into the node of the production planning. So under that you have process management, and under that you have the control recipes of the PI sheets. So you need to open that. So there you have this option for the digital signature. So if you just expand it, then you will see the options for the signature strategies and also the basic settings for the digital signatures. So based on your requirement, you can come to this particular path. If you need it in the PI sheet, so you can configure that here. And if it is in the QM view, then you can configure it in the previous path that we discussed so far. So that is how the digital signature process basically works.